Hello YouTube. Today I am back again, but this is a new series that I have wanted to try and do. And I actually wanted to start the series with a guest, but after a couple different attempts and trying to get somebody, I was not able to, so I'll just start this first video off by myself. And if you guys like it and you want to see more of this series, then please let me know, because I would love to do more. The point of this series is to talk about collecting and give out tips and maybe just give a little bit of background info on different regions of collecting is what my main goal was. I would really like to eventually start bringing guests onto this series and get their perspective from where they live on how the collecting is different from where I live to where they live. I'd really wanted to get somebody from the UK to do this with me, because that would be a great experience, so you could see the differences between collecting in the United Kingdom and the United States. So so first off, I'll do a little bit of an introduction. My name is Jacob, if you guys did not know that, and I live in the Great Lakes region of the United States, so that is where I collect. That's where I buy all my games from mostly. I don't really buy anything online. Also, the way you pronounce my YouTube name is rsgraph281. If I've had a couple different people ask me that, I just never actually remembered to respond until just now. So, the format of this video will be basically me talking with some gameplay in the background, and so if you want to listen to this like a podcast, you can do that, or if you want to just focus on the video, you have something to watch while we talk. So, the first thing I would like to talk about is just how I got started collecting and some tips that I may have for beginners. I started collecting pretty recently, actually. I started collecting in late 2011, maybe early 2012, so it's kind of odd to think that it's been that long ago, because it feels like just yesterday that I was just going to find my first used games for my collection. But I started right around then, and I've been picking up games and stuff and doing this channel ever since. So my recommendation for beginners, there's a couple tips that I have for people that are just deciding to get into collecting. Many people decide that they are going to collect Nintendo NES or Super Nintendo. That seems to be the most popular thing that people try to collect for. Now, if you want to do that, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that maybe you shouldn't start off with those systems, because you can find those two systems to be a money sink very, very quickly, and you'll get really discouraged from finding new and interesting games on your own, because if a lot of the games on those systems, since those are so popular right now, are in such high demand that a lot of the games that are cheap aren't very fun. So, not to say that there aren't cheap fun games, but the amount of them compared to other systems is much lower, just because of the high demand of those systems. So, I recommend starting off with systems that you find interesting, whether it be something that you grew up with as a child, or something that just sounds really interesting and you wanted to try out. I just recommend refraining from Nintendo at first, but if you really want to, it's not that big of a deal. You'll just have to remember that it is a little bit more expensive, because Nintendo is probably the most popular console to collect for. My personal recommendations is start collecting for systems that don't get much love, like the Sega Master System, or maybe Sega Genesis it's getting more popular, but right now it's still pretty cheap, so you could jump into that. You could also go with PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. There's literally thousands of games in both of those systems' libraries, so the demand for many of the games is very small, except for the rarer games. So those systems are really good beginner systems, and I recommend those ones for people looking to get into the hobby. My personal tastes for collecting include, I am a big fan of the PlayStation consoles, which many people have known, but I am more of a all-around collector. I'll collect games for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, Sega, and Atari. Pretty much anything that I can get my hands on, I'll pretty much collect, which is Can be a downside and a good side, and it's another recommendation that I'm going to have for new collectors is try to focus on something, on some sort of goal that you may have. While I do collect for everything, I actually do have goals, believe it or not. I am striving to get the entire North American Game Gear collection, and that has been my goal from when I started collecting, and I've gotten about 25% of the library down. But I recommend getting a goal so you don't get bored with it, and so you can, continue to find new things, whether it be get all of your favorite games in a certain franchise, or get every game in a certain library, or maybe just pick out games that you remember from your childhood. Those are all really good goals to start with because they are pretty easy to accomplish, and, well, depending on the library one can be pretty hard depending on what system you choose, but they're mostly pretty easy to accomplish. It's just once you get into the rarer games, things start to get a little bit more pricey. Another thing that I think is really cool, and this is something that not all collectors agree with. Some like them, some don't. I'm a big fan of collector's editions, or special editions, or limited editions, whatever you may want to call them. I'm a big fan of those. If you haven't noticed on my channel, I do unboxings of them every so often. In fact, I just did one for the Order 1886, so if you're interested in that game, check that out, because that's a sweet collector's edition, probably one of my favorites. But I do like collector's editions. They bring a lot of cool things to it, like if you are a big fan of like statues, or if you want to see how the game progressed in development and stuff, or you just want to have a little bit more for the games that you really enjoy, it's a really good way to do so, because many collector's editions come with art books, which is it's my favorite part of any collector's edition is an art book, because you can see the concept art and how each development cycle started, and you get to see the advancement through designs. A lot of really cool stuff goes into an art book, so the bigger the art book, the more likely I am to get it, just because I love art books. Other things that come with collector's editions, you sometimes get soundtracks, which is always really cool, especially if the game has a really good soundtrack, like Bravely Default had a good soundtrack, and that came with the soundtrack CD, which was awesome. And probably another one of my favorite things that collector's editions come with is statues. Statues obviously have a big draw to them because it's a big thing that you could have a nice thing on your shelf so everyone can see. I have a couple of these now. I actually have like maybe 4 to 6, I don't even know. But I have a couple of them now, and I do enjoy the statues, although I don't really, I don't usually get collector's editions for statues. I usually get them for the art books. But if it does come with a statue, then I will probably be more enticed to get it, don't get me wrong. But yeah. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about collecting in my general area. I live in the Great Lakes region, if you didn't catch that the first time. So, collecting is, I wouldn't say it's like super popular right where I live, but it's not also that unpopular. I have some competition, but not much, especially on certain things. Much of my competition is more focused on Nintendo where I live, so Nintendo stuff is super pricey where I live. And also, collecting for Nintendo seems to be a little bit harder, especially for later Nintendo things, like anything GameCube on is really hard to collect for where I live, because once the PlayStation 1 came out, actually, yeah, Nintendo 64 too, once the PlayStation 1 came out, Nintendo pretty much was not popular where I live anymore. Like, I don't remember anybody. I only remember one person that I ever knew when I was a kid that had a Nintendo 64. Everybody else I knew had a PlayStation 1 or didn't upgrade from their SNES, because I had an SNES and then we got a PlayStation 1. So PlayStation 1 was very popular around where I live, and PlayStation 2 the same way. So those games there's very many good deals that you can find for those systems where I live. But right around the PS3, it kind of became split, so there's like half and half, and even right now, it's still half and half. Xbox One, PS4 is about half and half where I live. Same with PS3 and Xbox 360. Actually, I think it leans more towards Xbox 360 where I live. But yeah, it's just it's pretty. I'd say it's about an average collecting area. Some places may have some things that others don't, and some the reason why I would love to have another guest on the show would be so you can, talk about games that maybe weren't released in the region that you live in. I do tend to import some games, and I actually am looking to import 2 games into my collection. Import games are a really, really cool thing to get into if you're starting your collecting, because it offers you a chance to get games that were never released in your region that may sound interesting to you, obviously. But the only thing to look for when you are importing games is to make sure that the system that you're importing for actually supports region-free games. So, for instance, the PlayStation 3 is region-free, so you don't have to play only North American PlayStation 3 games. You can play games from Japan, Europe, or South America, pretty much anywhere you want. Other systems that have this off the top of my head I know is PSP, PS Vita, PS4, Xbox One, and I'm not sure if the 360 is. It may be. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm about 60% sure that it is, but it may not be. I'm not sure. It's a relatively new thing. Nintendo is very behind on the times with region coding. They are still region locked for all of their systems, which is very sad because there's many games that come out for the 3DS that I would love to have, but they're exclusive to the Japan region. So yeah, that's pretty much importing in a nutshell. Where there's a lot of cool games that come out in other regions, which makes me sad. Like, I don't understand why they wouldn't release some games in the United States if they're released in Europe, especially the United Kingdom, because they're already being ported into English, so it wouldn't really cost them much extra to make editions for games. The only thing it would cost for is licensing in America and then licensing for the rating system, and then obviously printing the games and selling them. But I honestly think that region-free consoles are a big help for that. It just sucks because importing games tends to be a little bit more expensive than buying them in your local region. So there's also that to keep in mind if you're ever interested in importing games. But yeah, so that's basically all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little collector's talk. And if you guys like this, be sure to let me know so I can do more of these type of videos and maybe even get a guest host. And this video was not scripted, but in the future I do intend to make a script for each episode so I have talking points on specific things for you. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.